So you've bought your Space Marine and Furnace Marines and paint set, and you're ready to venture into the worlds of Warhammer 40,000. In this step-by-step guide, we'll be showing you how to use the contents of this box set quickly and easily to get your miniatures painted. Before you know it, your models will be needing some reinforcements. Painting Warhammer is fun and rewarding, and we're here to walk you through each stage of the process. Before we start painting, you need to build your miniatures. You'll see on the back of the box, there are some instructions on how to build your models. To help you with building, have a look at our Painting Essentials Your Mini video for some top tips. You'll also need to gather a few things before we start. To paint your miniatures, you'll need a water pot and some paper towel, and something to use as a palette. The plastic tray in the box is great for this. If you'd like to know more about setting up a painting area, we've got a handy video packed full of information. The paints we've used in this guide are the ones found in the box set, and they are listed on the screen now. We are using the paints in the set to replicate the images of the miniatures on the box art. It's a good idea to keep the box to hand when you're painting, as you can use it to refer back if you're unsure what parts to paint which colours. We'll be painting these Infernus Marines in the classic blue and gold colour scheme of the Ultramarines. However, remember that these are your miniatures. You don't have to stick to the box art. Feel free to let your imagination run wild. The first thing we need to do is something called an undercoat, and we'll be using our pot of Macragge Blue to do this. Don't worry if you've not heard of undercoating before, we'll be talking you through it. So what is an undercoat? This is where we apply a paint to the whole model, and this acts as a foundation for all our other paints to stick to. There are two ways of doing this: using a spray can or by using the paint from the pot. In this case, we'll be painting from the pot of Macragge Blue, as this is what we've got in our set. If you want to learn more about undercoating with a spray can, we've got a video all about it called Spray Paints and Undercoating. It's normal for the paint to settle and separate in the pot over time, so give it a good shake until it's a smooth, even colour. Break the seal and push the lid until it clicks into the tab at the back to help keep open the pot whilst in use. Wet your starter brush from the set with a little bit of water, wipe away any excess on the paper towel so it's damp but not sodden, and load the bristles with a little bit of paint from the reservoir inside the lid. Take care not to get paint all the way up to the metal part of the brush, which is called the ferrule, as this can damage the brush as it dries. Just about halfway up the bristles is plenty of paint. You can learn more about this technique in our thinning paints video. Thinning our paints gives us the ability to avoid creating lumps and obscuring the smallest of details on our models. But we do want to be careful that we don't thin it too much, or the paint will just slip off the model. Thinning our paints creates a smoother consistency which can be applied in several thin coats to a miniature. This might seem to take a little longer, but it will give you a much better end result. You'll see that these miniatures are packed full of detail. If we apply one thick coat of paint, we risk clogging up all that awesome detail. We avoid this by applying a couple of thin layers instead. This ensures we still get to see all that detail and we get a smooth finish. You can be really messy at this stage. Just make sure you get that Macragge Blue into every nook, cranny and flat surface. You'll notice that the first coat might seem to struggle to stick to the plastic, but don't worry, just keep on going and cover as much as you can. You'll need to leave the first coat to dry for around 15 minutes, which can give you plenty of time to start undercoating your other Marines. Once it's dry, apply that second coat in exactly the same way. You'll find that the coverage of the paint is much better this time round. And when it's dry, apply a third coat. Whilst each coat is drying, you can do the same steps on your other Marines as well, in a small assembly line of sorts. The end result should look something like this, with the model fully covered evenly in Macragge Blue for the armour. Well done, you just undercoated your first models. Next up is Abaddon Black. We'll be applying this to the gun body, undersuit and the pouches around the back of the Marine. Follow the same method as you've done with the last paint, trying to be as neat as you can. You might have noticed that we'll be using a type of paint called a base paint. These are great for base coating miniatures, as they're specifically formulated to achieve a higher coverage. To learn more about base paints, check out the video on our Painting Essentials playlist. If you ever find your brush is losing its point, just roll it on the palette to get those bristles behaving again. Remember to wait for the black to dry before moving on to the next stage. Don't forget that you can be painting your other miniatures whilst you're waiting for it to dry. Doing this will have them all done before you know it. Once the black is completely dry, we can move on to the metallics. For these areas, we'll be using Balthasar Gold. We'll be using this to pick out the gun details, the chest eagle, and the shoulder pad trim. When applying this, we'll thin it down with a little bit of water like we did before. It will probably take 2 coats to achieve complete coverage. Painting in all the main colours of the miniature is called base coating. We do want to try and be as neat as we can here, as this will give us a better end result and save us time so we don't have to do much tidying up with the blue and black. However, if you do get any of the gold on the wrong areas, just take your Macragge Blue or Abaddon Black and tidy up. Don't forget to thin it down with water though, as the more layers of paint that we apply to the model, the more we risk creating lumps and bumps if those are thick. Thinner layers are a super easy way to get a smoother finish we are after. You might notice that the water is looking a little shiny, because we've been using metallic paints. After you've finished with the gold, it's a good idea to change your pot of paint water. We don't want any of those metallic flakes getting into our brush and making our non-metallic paints shiny. Now we're going to use Corax White to paint the ultramarine and squad markings on the shoulder pads. As you can see, some of the areas we need to paint are very close to the blue details, so try and be as neat as you can. This is why it's easier to paint the raised, smaller details after the main colours are down. Plus, if you make any mistakes, a quick coat of Macragge Blue will easily tidy up any mishaps with the white, especially around those small edges. As this colour is lighter, we will need to do 1 coat on all our models, then we can move on to a second coat once it's dried, keeping the flow of paint going. Once that's dry, you've actually finished base coating your miniatures. Well done! If you want to stop here, you absolutely can. They are more than ready to take down the horrific alien creatures. However, if you'd like to learn how to use other paints included in your set, keep watching. The next thing we're going to do is apply Agrax Earthshade to the gold and blue details. This paint is different to the others as it's a shade paint. Shade paints are very thin and are designed to slightly tint flat surfaces of the miniature while settling into the recesses. You'll notice how this creates a depth on the miniature by darkening down those recessed areas. Applying a shade is a quick and easy way to really take your paint job up to the next level. We don't want to add any water to this paint. Just take it straight from the pot, making sure that there isn't too much on your brush. You can find out more information about shade paints in our Painting Essentials videos. Agrax Earthshade works over many different base coats, so we can apply it over quite a few colours. When you're doing this, work in small sections. We want to avoid the paint drying too quickly anywhere, as this could leave marks on flat surfaces and create an inconsistent finish. When it comes to the blue armour, we just want to apply this into the recesses by using the tip of the brush and running the paint into the lines. This is called recess shading, and it can be a little tricky at first, but with a little bit of practice, you'll soon get the hang of it. If you don't feel confident, you can skip this step. You can always tidy up any smudges with Macragge Blue afterwards. You might notice that it sometimes pulls really heavily in some of those recesses. We actually want to avoid this happening, as it isn't quite the finish we're looking for. If you find this happening, clean off your brush, dry it off, then place it back into that area, and you'll see that it soaks up some of that shade. Wipe this off on a paper towel and continue until you've reduced the pooling. Shades will take around 30 minutes to dry, so don't forget that you can work on your other miniatures whilst you're waiting. The final paint we'll be using is Armageddon Dust, and we'll be applying this to the base. Armageddon Dust is a type of technical paint. This is a range of Citadel paints created for basing, and you can add all sorts of effects to your miniatures. We've got a video all about technical paints if you'd like to see more about them in action. This particular one is designed to be used on the base to create a textured sand effect. Basing a miniature can really help finish it off and bring the whole thing to life. We tend to do this last in the painting process, but some people prefer to base their miniatures earlier or even at the start of the process. To apply this, we're going to show you 3 different methods depending on the tools that you have available. Technical paints like Armageddon Dust can be tough to get off of brushes, so we don't want to use the brush included in the kit, as it will likely get ruined in the process. First, we have a Citadel texture tool, which you can buy on the Games Workshop website or in one of our Warhammer stores. This is the quickest and easiest way to apply technical paints to the bases, as it's specially designed for the job. It is a plastic tool with 2 scoops on it, one large and one small. We'll use the large end of the scoop to get the paint out of the pot and apply it to the base. The small end is really helpful when it comes to getting the paint around the Marine's feet. If you can, try and avoid getting any Armageddon dust on the miniature itself, or on the rim of the base. Just a little around the feet will help tie the model and the base together really well. But if you don't have a texture tool, there are 2 more options you can use. The second method is to use a wooden coffee stirrer. We'll just scoop the paint and apply it to the base. It can take a while as it's quite small, but it's a great option if you don't have the texture tool. Or alternatively, you can fashion a tool from the plastic tray the models and the paint came in. Technical paint takes around an hour to dry, so leave them to dry in a safe place and they'll be ready in no time at all. Congratulations, your first Space Marines are complete and are ready to face the evil creatures of the worlds of Warhammer 40,000. For more tutorials, tips and tricks, check out citadelcolor.com or head to your local Warhammer store where our amazing staff will be happy to help you. Well, we hope you enjoyed this video and we'll see you next time. Bye bye!